Assalamu alaikum students, hope you all will be fine. Today we are going to start unit number 10 on page number 46, that is all about heat and light. As we know that heat and light are two important factors for all the living things, and the major source of both heat and light is the sun, which means that most of the heat and light on earth comes from the sun. Heat and light provide us some purposes. Let's see what purposes they provide. Heat and light help us to see. If there is no light, we cannot see around us. Heat and light provide us with the energy. As we said that most of the heat comes from the sun in the form of energy, and that energy or heat keep the earth warm and all the living things inside it. Next one, it helps plants to produce their own food. Students, remember that plants produce their own food by the process named photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process in which the plants grab heat and light from the sun and produce their own food. If there is no sunlight, plants cannot be able to produce their food. There are some properties of both heat and light. We will discuss properties of light first. There are millions of objects in our world. We divided them into 3 categories. We will discuss each category one by one. The first category in which the objects fall is known as transparent objects. What is it? Transparent objects. First, we should know what are the transparent objects. Transparent objects are objects that light can pass straight through. It means that these are the objects that let all the light to pass through them. If light is coming all the way through it, it means that it's an transparent object. Now, what are the examples of transparent objects? First of all, air is the example. Can we see air? No, we cannot see air, but yes, we can feel air. It's all around us, present all the time. We cannot see, but we can see the objects in the presence of light or air. Next one is water. If it's a clear water, it means that you can see clearly inside it. You can see the fish or you can see the other living objects inside it. The next one, here is a picture of a transparent object, that is a window. As you can see, it's made up of a glass, and you can see clearly on the next side of the window. As you can see mountains and trees there. So it means that this glass is letting all the light to pass through it, and we can clearly what's on the other side. The next category in which the objects fall is known as translucent objects. What is it? Translucent objects. Now, what are the translucent objects mean? Translucent objects are objects that allow some light to pass through. That allow some light to pass through, which means that they do not allow all the light to pass through them. For example, hold a piece of a tissue paper up to a light source. If some light comes through, then it means it's a translucent object and you cannot see clear on the next side of the paper. It will create some blurry image. Some other examples of translucent objects are butter paper, a very thin sheet of a plastic, a wax paper, and many more. The third category in which the objects fall are known as opaque objects. What is it? Opaque objects. Opaque objects are objects that do not allow any light to pass through. They do not allow any light to pass through. Here you can see a picture of a door. When you shut the door, you cannot see at all on the next side. So, door is an example of an opaque object. Some other examples of opaque objects are brick, wall, wood, tree, table. So, these are all the examples of opaque objects. If no light is coming through the object or you cannot see what's on the other side of that object, it means it's an opaque object. So, the three categories in which the objects fall are transparent objects, number 2, translucent objects, and number 3, opaque objects. Now it's an activity time. Here you have to complete the table by ticking the correct boxes. As you can see here, the following 5 materials are given with the 3 objects: transparent, translucent, and opaque. All you have to do is to bear in mind the concept of all the 3 objects. What are the transparent objects? That let all the light to pass through them. Translucent objects that let some light to pass through them. And opaque objects that let no light to pass through them. We will see them one by one and then later we decide whether they are transparent, translucent, or opaque. Number 1 is a tissue paper. As I told you before, if you hold a piece of tissue paper and grab it to a source light, you will see that it's creating a blurry image of the next side of the paper. So it means that tissue paper is not transparent, but yes, it's a translucent object. So you will tick the translucent box. The next one is a chart paper. If you see a chart paper, it's a hard material and you cannot see on the other side through this chart paper. And if you cannot see at all what's on the next side, it means it's definitely an opaque object. So you will take the opaque object. The next one is cloth. Clothing are the objects in which that do not allow any light to pass through them, which means that cloth is also an example of opaque object. So you will take this box. The next one is a tracing paper. If you see a tracing paper and you hold it up to a light source, you will see that it's creating some blurry image of the next side and it's allowing some light or a little light to pass through it, which means that It's a translucent object, so you have to tick this box. The last one is a foil. If you see a foil, for example, let's see an aluminium foil. If you are wrapping it with an object, so you cannot see on the other side and it does not allow any light to pass through it. So foil is an example of opaque object. So you will tick this box.